I'm Susan. I love to teach, I love to cook, so let's get going. Oh, and don't ever be afraid to cook. Welcome to my cooking space, the hot stock pot. Let's pick a recipe. Ooh, cherry chocolate Mandel bread. Oh, this is gonna be good. The first thing we're gonna do is cut the maraschino cherries. These are two jars, 10 ounces each, of stemless maraschino cherries. I've drained the liquid. We don't need the liquid. And I'm just gonna take them and cut them in half. That's it. This is very relaxing. Just saying. This is a great recipe. It's Mandel bread is a kind of cookie that is similar to biscotti, although it contains a little more fat than biscotti, so it's a more tender dough, more tender product. Biscotti is very dry and crispy, and Mandel bread is very sweet usually, and more tender. Now, Mandel bread can be cooked twice, like biscotti, or you don't have to. I generally don't. Now, the name Mandel bread comes from Mandelbrot, which is a Yiddish word, actually, for almond bread. And that's because the original recipes for Mandel bread always contained almonds and or almond paste. Now, there's a million recipes for Mandel bread or Mandelbrot. This one in particular does not have almonds in it, but it's still called Mandel bread. Well, through the miracle of video, we have now cut all of the cherries in half. We'll set those aside. And now we want a cup and a half of chopped walnuts. A light chop. Oops. And I'm gonna fling the nuts around the room. I'm gonna fling my nuts around the room. Don't repeat that. Don't say I said that. I'm gonna fling the walnuts around the room. The next step is the flour. It's 4 cups of all-purpose flour. This is 3 cups, and we'll do the 4th cup. Again, this is the right way to measure flour. It's all-purpose. We spoon it in, tap it in, level it off, and that is 4 cups. Next thing is 1 cup of granulated sugar. Sugar doesn't really compact like flour does, so you can scoop it like that. But level it off, 1 cup. Set it aside. Also, don't forget 4 large eggs and 10-ounce bag of mini chocolate chips. Those are going in as well. All right, so also don't forget, it's a cup of vegetable shortening, 4 large eggs, and a 10-ounce bag of mini chocolate chips. That's part of our mise en place. All right, so the first step is we're gonna take that sugar, that 1 cup of sugar, and we're gonna take that 1 cup of vegetable shortening, and we're gonna cream them together using a hand mixer. I just like a hand mixer. I know that's kind of old fuddy-duddy, but I don't know, I feel like I can have better control of some things that I don't necessarily have with a stand mixer. I have a stand mixer, I just kind of like the, I have a stand mixer, I just kind of like the hand mixer. All right, so we're gonna cream that. I'm done creaming the vegetable shortening and the sugar, and you'll notice in a lot of baking you do cream the fat with the sugar, and that's to coat the sugar granules so that they disperse evenly in your product. So that's the first thing, scraping the edges, making sure you get everything incorporated. Now we're going to add 4 eggs. This whole milk sour cream. All right, and then also the vanilla. The 1 teaspoon of vanilla goes in. Again, this is very typical of baked products. You do the wet ingredients, get them all mixed together, and then you add the dry ingredients, and then you add all the additives like cherries and nuts and things like that. We're going to add the flour, 4 cups of flour. We're going to add the 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And we're going to start mixing, and it's going to get thick, so I'm going to switch to a spoon. It's getting to be a tough batter. That's good. And we'll just keep making sure all the flour and the dry ingredient is in, and then we'll start adding our cherries and things. The oven is preheating. If you're using a convection oven, it's 360 degrees. If you're using a regular oven, it's 375. And so now we're going to start adding. The cherries need to be very well drained. You don't want to introduce a lot of liquid into this. So we're going to throw those in, and we're going to throw in the nuts, and we're going to add the chocolate chips. This is so delicious. And then we just basically incorporate all of that into the dough. And you just really have to work it all carefully into the dough. You want to make sure all those 3 additives are well distributed, because you're going to form this into 2 different loaves, and you don't want one or the other loaves to just be filled with one particular thing. So you just kind of have to keep working at it and turning it over and just mixing it. And this is the reason why we only cut the cherries in half. If we had cut them in quarters, then they would start getting all mushy, and then you just have like cherry blobs in there. All right, and this is what you're going to end up with, and you can see it's starting to get sticky. So we're done. This is the best way to form the loaves. Some people just scoop it right out of the bowl. I think it's easier to just form 2 blobs even, eyeball it. It doesn't have to be exact. But this is another way that you can disperse all the additives and make your loaves easier to make. This is a half sheet pan, and it is lined with a sheet of parchment paper. You don't have to grease it. There's plenty of grease in the form of the vegetable shortening in this dough. And you just form it into basically kind of a log, like that. And you do the same for the other blob. But you see, it's easier than trying to get it out of the bowl. And you can estimate size better. You can see how it's sticking. That's normal. It's a very moist product. All right, so then we just plop it down side by side and shape the loaves. It's okay if they're not exactly the same size. This one's a little smaller, so we'll add to it. Okay, so it's going to bake in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes. Keep an eye on it. And when it gets nice and golden brown, it's done. It might be just a little soft. That's okay. It'll harden up. Just 20 to 25 minutes. See you later. Okay, this is what it looks like coming out of the oven. It's slightly brown, darker brown around the edges, around the bottom, and it's just a little spongy. But it needs to set, so we're gonna wait a little while, maybe an hour, and then cut it and taste it. But it is a little soft right now. It has to set just like any other baked product. See you soon. Okay, they're out. They're nice and hot. They're a little soft. They're brown though. You can see we're gonna let them cool. They will firm up, and then we'll cut them. No words. So good. Chocolate, cherry, walnuts. Give it a try. You will not regret it. So good. just make sure to let these cool, maybe even put them in the refrigerator. They cut so much better when they're really firmed up. I cut this with a bread knife and they're still a little soft. So really make sure they're, you know, very cold. See you next time.